lifestyle she wants is all I have to offer. Original post. For context, my 42-year-old male, wife, 38-year-old female, is a som by her choice of our two kids, 1 and 4 years old. I used to work full-time in a large hospital in our town as an attending oncologist, but due to her needs at home, I have since cut my clinic time in half and make up for the break in my in-person work via telehealth. It's not uncommon my patients get to see my kids as they are meeting bomb from time to time. But admittingly, it's nice to see the smile these unplanned moments bring to both my kids and patients' faces. We by no means have a lack of active support. Both our parents are available and willing to help watch our kids. My income is enough that my wife, if she felt that we needed it, could hire a nanny part or full-time or live in. And since I shuffled my clinic and worked with colleagues to make it work, I am available almost all but 6 or so hours a day, and even so during those 6 hours, I frequently step away to make sure my wife and whomever else is helping watch our kids are taken care of. I know she has postpartum depression, PPD. She had it with our first, another time the child she miscarried, and now with our second. I've offered help in all forms, but she reiterates the fact that she just doesn't want to talk to either a stranger or someone who is my friend telling me everything behind her back. Because all doctors do that, right? So rather than argue, I try to do my best and make it work for everyone. It's not easy, but it's the best solution for an unavoidable scenario. 3 weeks ago, when I found out via a colleague who frequents the same Facebook mothers group as my wife that according to her vet post, I as a husband and father, if it wasn't for the lifestyle my husband can provide for me, I would have left by now. He provides no support at home, has no clue how to raise kids, and is useless AF. Workaholic who doesn't prioritize me or my kids. And my favorites can easily be replaced. Been talking to my ex, getting some good dick on the side, and more to come. My husband is so dumb, he didn't even notice I've been sneaking money away from our account. All I could do was laugh in disbelief. Equally as so at all the other mothers who cheered her on and encouraged her to get that dick sister, take everything he had. After a weekend of sulking and then bringing it to her attention, and the failed attempt to play it off as a joke, explain, cover, lie about the post and its context, I found proof to everything she said in her post. She expressed that she thinks we need to start from back at the beginning and fall in love again. Long story short, my attorney has taken the past 2 weeks to look at my case, and according to him and his partners, they have enough to present to prevent a lot of the damage she thinks she can cause with the pending divorce via her story and deleting of that post. Her legal counsel is her aforementioned ex, who is an unemployed electrician, fired for being high on a job, who according to mutual friends, thinks is about to put our house under his name, that my parents bought for us as a wedding gift that we have yet to transfer the title to our names. I'm in a mixed bag of emotions currently. Again, I'm laughing in disbelief at everything. But I'm also crying at the revelation that I wasn't good enough for someone I love and started a family with. I want to ensure our kids grow up with both of us, and when they're older decide who they want to live with more. I'm scared that she will try anything to take our kids away from me completely, and now I am thinking I should fight for full custody. I'm jealous her ex has that much power over her to sway her so easily after all these years. We started dating when before I was a resident, but most of all I'm angry. After conversation was opened about the proceedings of our divorce, my wife's biggest concern was, well, what's going to happen to me and all that I need and deserve? Her attitude she had when I told her, well, it's not like you don't have the means to go back to work like before. Her argument, it's not the same. How can I provide for the kids if I have to work? Before our kids, her annual income was around 65 to 70 per year, which by no means is bad. For those wondering, I'm before any honorariums and external funds from private ventures, have a base of 355 per year. Nothing about the kids, her mother whom I financially and medically support because they did not have the means to do so. Nothing about us before, during, or moving forward afterward the divorce. It's only about her and what she wants and needs, and I wish our children were old enough to be able to comprehend all of this. Now for the top of comments before reading the update. Get DNA tests on both kids as soon as possible. I second this. Who knows how long she's been carrying on with the ex? Sounds like the type that would have no problem passing his kids off as yours so she can maintain a good lifestyle and still have him on the side. Definitely DNA your kids. Even if he gets the DNA test and worst case, if he is not the father, he is still attached to the kids as his own. And if the kids are actually his, then OP, you should take full custody. That woman only cares about herself. But first, the DNA test, please. Now for the update. First and foremost, thank you all for taking the time to share some positive messages and comments. I've taken the time to read all of the comments as of this update, and I wanted to give a little more background and info. My wife and I have been together for 15 years, married for 6. I was never really pressured into marriage. But with our plans to have kids naturally, it made sense for coverage and benefits. Her first stint with PPD with our first child was a roller coaster and had the same problems, minus the need for me to be home more, and the infidelity. We made it through and were actually recovering positively from it up until she gave birth to our second child. Personally, I knew this time around it would be like being hit by a truck. I just didn't expect this. Our kids are ours. Upon admission into the hospital, you can opt for paternity testing to be done right away. I didn't think much of it other than why not? I'm already paying for childbirth. Might as well get everything that comes with it. STD panel. I'm in the clear. Once I found out everything, I went and had a full panel of lab work done while I was at the hospital for my clinic. I am not out to make this a revenge story. As I said, this was 3, going now on 4, weeks ago. Throughout my life, I had theoretical contingency plans and paperwork on hand, if needed for many what-if scenarios like living wills, power of attorney, a list of trusted executors of X matters, and so on. On that note, I suggest anyone who does not have that lined up to please do. I've been in many situations where family members have literally gone to war in the hospital over unexpected events. I don't plan to drag this out longer than necessary, and to be honest, I would have nothing to gain from potentially financially ruining her and her new partner in crime. I am still hashing out the details, but thanks to the support of the people around me, not only have I consulted with my attorney and his partners, I have also had conversations with a previous judge and other tenured lawyers regarding how I can make this an amicable settlement. For the record, I love my wife. I just hate who she has become. PPD is a sickness, as another poster stated. It changes a person, and in some cases, it's like a switch. If this was who my wife truly was, and she hid it for the past 15 years, I can't say anything other than it is what it is. No, I'm not looking to make amends and try again. I've made it clear to her, her family, her friends, that I'm done. My focus on life was at one time the 3 of them, but now it's only for our kids. I have not and will not kick my wife out until either 1, I am forced to, or 2, my attorney states it's best she leaves. We are sleeping in separate rooms, and I've given her an open door policy where she's free to come and go as she pleases. Just don't take the kids with you. Her mother is actually enforcing this rule. Since this all came to light, she and my mother have temporarily moved in to help and ensure the kids' best interests are being looked out for. At the end of the day, she is still the mother of my children. To me, that still deserves some merit, given the circumstances. I won't give any false pretenses that I want us to work it out and still play house. She could pack and go live with her ex for all I care, but I could not in good conscience leave her to sleep in her car or wherever else. Due to my actions, we live in a one-party consent state. My wife also seems to forget that our house has a pretty robust CCTV system that has 24/7 surveillance that is saved. I'll spare you the details of the proof found in the system. With that, phone records, social media, and her GPS tracking records, my attorney is having a field day. A comment caught my eye, so just for clarification, traditionally we did not hold clinics via telehealth. But thanks to COVID and restrictions, we had no choice but to implement this option during the height of the pandemic in 2020 to 2021. A patient on active treatment has to come into the hospital in person. To this date, many cancer hospitals still have visitor restrictions and offer telehealth options for patients who are being seen for follow-ups, survival, and general reasons. Many of the larger academic centers have also implemented teleservices for clinical research, in which we also explain protocols and collect their informed consent. I do not only work 6 hours a day. I dedicate 6 hours when working from home solely to work and still report in person for clinic twice a week. I'm on call 1 week at the end of the month. My apologies if there is a delay in updating. More than likely, I will later do so again this week, given my schedule and meetings with everyone regarding my next moves. Thank you all again for taking the time to read and comment if you did. I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of the week. Just venting. Story 2. Ex cheat on me with her cousin and expected to save face. I think not. For context, it was her cousin-in-law. Let's start this story by saying this happened 12 years ago. I'm now happily married with 3 children and regret absolutely nothing. I was with my new ex for 3 years. I had noticed that she was being extremely controlling. I was expected to give every little detail of my day and tell her my schedule in advance. And if I deviated from that, she would be very upset. She chalked it up to just bad feelings she was having and shrugged it off as her paranoia for past relationships of infidelity. I had never once cheated or strayed, and I never gave her a reason to act like this. It felt unbecoming of my fiancé to act in such a way. Now this is where it gets juicy. After she had asked for my schedule to make plans, as mine tends to be more hectic than hers, I noticed she was texting someone. In my line of work, if I put in more than 40 hours, I have the ability to take time off at will as long as the work is completed at a later date. I was very good friends with a brother and still am. We laugh about this to this day, and he actively reminds her of it. I messaged him stating I wanted to do something special for her a little bit earlier than our anniversary to make sure it was a special surprise. They both worked in the same fabrication facility. He was a fabricator and she a shipping manager. He was kind enough to let me know her schedule. That's where the discrepancy falls into place. Without my knowledge, she was foregoing overtime. She worked 12-hour shifts Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesday, when she would only work half a day. She had been taking Wednesdays off right around the time that she started getting extremely controlling. Lucky for me, I had stacked several days of leisure time up. So taking a Wednesday off for me was not an issue. A few days go by, and Wednesday's here. I put on my work gear and leave for work. I was expecting her to leave as our apartment complex had 2 exits on the same road I could see directly across from a shopping center, so I parked my car near the back and waited. After about an hour, I noticed a very specific red Mustang with a specific decal on the back window. It was her cousin by marriage. I had also done my due diligence to take an old laptop, which we kept on our desk in an office area with a full view of the living room, bedroom door, and bathroom plus the kitchen. I had set it up for remote access and had it alert me when the webcam noticed movement. Giving her the benefit of the doubt, I thought he may be dropping something off or coming over to assist her with something, as her family sometimes does. Sure enough, a message came through, so I remote into my laptop. He walks through the door without skipping a beat. She unbuttons his shirt and begins kissing him. I created a URL link for the live stream, and as she was preoccupied, we had a family group text and a friend group text. They were both part of it, but at the current time, they were currently indisposed and didn't look at their phones. They didn't even wait. They could have gone to the bedroom, but no, they decided to get freaky deaky right there on the couch. I sent the link off to the friend group chat and the family group chat. Within minutes, I'm getting calls nonstop from friends and family alike. There was no turning back. She was getting blown up, but she was ignoring her phone. Not until the 4th or 5th call came through did they decide to take a break. For context, the state I live in allows recording of personal property regardless of occupancy. I was the only one on the lease. She wasn't allowed to be on the lease because of poor credit. The call she had picked up was from her cousin's mother, who she was banging. She answers the phone on speaker, and I kid you not, the first words out of his mother's mouth were, "Stop screwing my son." They both became rigid, and she began to stutter over her words, saying, "What are you talking about?" etc. The mother then divulged that there was a live feed of them, sent out by me to her family. She grabbed every pillow off the couch and covered herself up. The cousin staggered off, trying to put on his pants and shoes, just to trip himself up and bang his head off of my coffee table, leaving it with a divot. By this time, I had made my way to the front of the apartment complex. I was there to greet the adulterer as he came out of the front exit. He froze and began to cry, apologizing profusely. I'm not going to lie. What happened afterwards wasn't my best moment, and I'd nearly got into legal trouble if it weren't for the fact that he was trespassing on private property. Let's just say I had a cast for 6 weeks, and he wasn't in any family photos for months. I went up to the apartment, where she was now fully clothed and crying inconsolably. I asked her if it was snot or cum on her face. Then I told her not to answer because it didn't matter anyway. I gave her 1 hour to remove all of her belongings, as again, everything in the apartment was mine except for clothes, some makeup, and a few kitchen utensils. Her mother would not let her move in, as she was just filled with embarrassment. Same for her brothers. and the cousin's mother kicked her son out. Rumors spread around our town very quickly, and, for a lack of better words, she was untouchable. Now for the top of comments. Would call this nuclear revenge, but will worth it. Don't buy it. It's all too perfect and artificial. To me, it screams karma farming. It's like the OP knew exactly she was gonna cheat. He prepared for it. Stone cold. He prepared streaming. Stone cold. He reacted to everything. Stone cold. All this without any prior evidence of her cheating and seemingly completely void of any emotions towards someone he was supposedly in love with. That's not how people respond to painful experiences. Edit. Yeah, the OP is a liar. Just go through their responses in this thread. Every time they get called out on something, they go to extreme lengths to prove their story, coming with little details along the way they're supposed to corroborate the story, but that no one actually asked for or questioned before. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for divorcing during my husband's mental health crisis? Me, 38-year-old female, and husband, 38-year-old male, married since 2009, and we have a preteen daughter. Last 3 years have been really tough on us because of my husband's bad working conditions that started to affect his mental health. I noticed signs of burnout and depression and brought up these concerns regularly to him. He was very dismissive and refused to see his situation and refused therapy. He started becoming distant and often isolated himself and was regularly butting heads with our daughter. He eventually told me that he had met a woman at work. Their relationship was not, according to him, physical, but he was in love with her and felt that she was his soulmate and best friend. He said he was very sorry and that he could not decide which woman he would ultimately be happiest with. He spoke out about this at home, whilst I was having the toughest time of my life. I cried alone over my dreams and plans, everything we had together. He also told me that in order to clear his head, he would need to leave the house and spend some time on his own. That co-worker had offered him her spare room, and he was going to take it. I asked for his help organizing the rest of the school year as I was commuting, and I promised him that as soon as the school year was over, I would look for an apartment closer to my work, and me and our daughter will move out, and he can have the house to himself for his healing. I found an apartment almost immediately, and we moved. He visited us one weekend a month and brought his chaos with him every time. The new home had become a safe haven that we cherished, and he took it over as soon as he appeared, and it felt like I wasn't breathing until he finally left. After 6 months of living like this, I decided I had given things enough time to mend, and they had not. I was still hurt and bitter, and he was still cagey about what was going on, and what his ultimate decision really was. I told him I was done living like this, and that I wanted a divorce. He absolutely lost his shit and left and drove back to our old house in the middle of the night just to get away from me. A week later, he told me the coworker is pregnant, and he was angry that I didn't want to even try to fix our marriage. Since then, he has gotten increasingly more hostile and accusatory in his communication with me. He blames me for breaking up the marriage and abandoning him during his crisis. He says he was not himself and has no idea why he did the things he did, but that I was the one who left. He claims I was no help when he needed me, and that I had clearly mentally abandoned our relationship long before, more than 3 years prior. He tells me I'm cold and calculating and clearly not the person he thought I was. I understand that he is not well. He finally did go to therapy. I explained a lot of his actions with that in mind at first. So am I the a-hole he claims I have become? Taking his daughter away and leaving. Now for the advices. You attempted to help him multiple times, and multiple times he shut you out. Instead of seeking help or getting a new job, your soon-to-be ex decided the correct path was an emotional affair that led to a physical affair. There is absolutely no reason to feel guilty about divorcing this guy. Not the a-hole. Stop indulging him. Coordinate his visitation with your daughter through an app. Do not discuss anything else. Keep all communication written. Stop second-guessing yourself. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Thank you for your answer. I have actually noticed that keeping all our communication in writing has helped me deal with all of this better. I feel like my thoughts stay more structured and I can choose to respond, or not respond, depending if I feel too insulted or triggered in the moment. Helps me keep civil. I personally feel like I really tried my best to help him, and I was truly devoted and very much still in love, but he sees it very differently, and it's hard for me to reconcile between those two completely different stories. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my inheritance with the rest of my family? My family situation is messy. A 25-year-old female was engaged 4 years ago to my high school sweetheart. My fiancé cheated on me with my sister, 28-year-old female. We had never had a good relationship even as kids, so after I found out, I went scorched earth both of them. She was so in love with my fiancé, but he dumped her within 2 weeks and was back trying to get me to forgive him. I didn't. My parents were initially on my side, but my sister had a nervous breakdown after she was dumped and was hospitalized, so they changed their tune to "It's over now, and you can't be mad forever." So I dumped them too and went to grad school on the other side of the country. My grandfather was livid with the whole thing, disowned my sister, and chewed out my parents. Sometimes it felt like he was the only one who was on my side and understood. I was able to get my job to let me work remotely and moved back to take care of him when he got sick last fall, and I was devastated when he passed a couple of months ago. I had been in limited contact with my parents since I came back, mostly because I didn't want to be an obstacle to my dad seeing my grandfather, but with the understanding that any discussion of my sister or what happened would end that. It turns out that my grandfather left me virtually everything. He left enough for my father to cover a debt and some token stuff for a couple of other relatives. But he wrote letters for everyone and did a videotape with his attorney explaining what his intentions were. I knew that he had done well for himself, but he lived a pretty simple lifestyle, so I didn't realize how much money and assets he really had. I would give it all up to have my papa back. But even after taxes, it is set for life money. My parents are pretty mad about it. One of the reasons stated for cutting them out was how disappointed my grandfather was with how they had treated me growing up versus my sister, and over the fiancé debacle. There were other reasons, but that's what they're fixated on. The will is pretty airtight apparently, so my parents want me to do the right thing and share it equally between me, them, and my sister. Their argument is that I don't need it. I make more than both of them combined, and this would allow them to retire. My sister is not doing great and can't hold a job, so this would ensure she has something for when my parents pass. I don't want to. My grandfather's wishes were crystal clear, and also I kind of don't feel like doing more than the minimum for any of them. They've been telling me that I'm being vindictive because of a mistake years ago. I can't deny there might be a little vindictiveness there. I don't want them to suffer necessarily, but I also don't feel like they deserve my help. That's all for today. If you are enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you.